everyone, it's Alexis with Project Management Made Simple. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all some common challenges project managers face. Number one is having challenging clients or customers. As a project manager of over 10 years now, I have had my share of projects, and with it, I've had my share of customers. Now, thankfully for me, most times the customers and clients I've worked with have been reasonable. Some of them have been great to work with, but there have been a few times where I have had the opportunity of working with some challenging clients and customers. And so, what this can look like is a customer that maybe doesn't know exactly what they want, and there's already been an agreement that's been put in place. And so, with that, you're having to change the agreement pretty frequently, or potentially having a customer wherein, if you're a consultant and you're working with a particular company, you all are offering services, you all are to deliver a project, and the points of contact at the company that you're working with leave. I've had that happen before where the representative on the customer side leaves and that knowledge may not be documented. And so the new person that you're working with may have different expectations and so having to realign. So there's several scenarios in which having a challenging client or customer can present itself, but it is something that project managers may face at some point in their career. Now, I also want to mention before I finish going into the rest of the points here, I am going to have videos dedicated to each of these points. Some of them I think will require more than one video, and some of them I already have videos that I will link below in the description for you all to refer to those if you want to next better understand how do you solve for these challenges. So this video is really going to focus on first identifying what those challenges are, and then subsequent videos will go into detail around how you can solve for them. Number two is having frequent scope changes, also known as scope creep. So this happens sometimes as a result of having a challenging customer that doesn't know exactly what they want. And in some cases, it's fine. You change the scope, you update the schedule, you update the budget, and it's fine. That would be ideal if we're dealing with scope changes. However, more often than not, if we're dealing with scope changes, it's not that simple. Sometimes what it can come down to is a misunderstanding of what the scope was agreed upon. And so when you come to your customer, you come to your client and you share with them, hey, so we're going to take this in as a scope change and it's going to have an additional cost of XYZ. Depending on the client or the relationship with the customer, they may not receive that news too well. And so when it comes to scope changes, it's going to be very important that you document scope changes and that you have that transparent communication with your customer. Because also sometimes what happens is you all are going through and building out your project, you're building out your deliverables, and your customer gets excited about something and maybe they want to add something on. Now, depending on the situation, it may be appropriate to say yes to that. But then you also now have to say no to other things. So I do have videos that are dedicated to scope changes and scope creep, as well as to setting up a change management process. So I will have those linked below. Number three is work not going as planned. So in all my time of being a project manager, it has been rare that a project has gone exactly as planned. Now, if you're listening to that and you're thinking, that sounds pretty awful, it's actually pretty common. And that is because when we start off projects, we don't know everything up front. We know the least amount of information about the project at the start of it, which also means that we have the most amount of risk at that point. Risk translates into uncertainty about something. And so in every project that I have been on, my goal at the onset has been to make it explicit as a part of the plan where that uncertainty lies. And so what that can look like is if I have a software implementation project and we are to deliver on X date with X budget, X number of resources, whatever variables matter for that project, I will also illustrate and outline the assumptions that are made as a part of that project to get us to the finish line. And so that becomes a way of being transparent with the customer and the client that, hey, we don't know everything. And there are certain things that they don't know, right? But we know enough to feel confident in getting started on this project. And we trust that we're going to have a system in place that we can align, we can make changes to the plan if needed, and we can still keep on track, or we can change our plan and then follow that new plan. Number 4 is impractical deadlines. As a project manager, you may be given a project where you're told, we need to get A, B, and C done by this date. And depending on your familiarity with these types of projects and your experience, you might be able to look at that pretty quickly and see that it's not possible. That there will need to be certain things that change, probably the budget, or possibly the scope, or possibly both, to meet that deadline. And so when we go into projects, what I'm highlighting here is that it's not always the case that we're given a project and then once we produce a schedule, that is our deadline. Sometimes it works the opposite. Sometimes we're given the deadline, we're given the scope, and we're told the budget. And we can see from the onset that it's an impractical deadline. Number 5 is having an adequate project budget. This is very similar to impractical deadlines, where if you're given a project and let's say, for instance, the project is to redesign a kitchen. And in that kitchen, as a part of the specifications and requirements from this customer, they want to use a certain material that goes beyond their budget. What do? And that's not just that one material, but maybe there are several materials that go beyond that budget. And maybe let's layer back in the impractical deadline. Maybe this material has a long lead time to be delivered, or it's just out of stock. It's something that's commonly out of stock. These are all issues, common challenges that we face as project managers, where you are having to manage what is called the triple constraint. And you can see that I've actually even illustrated as a part of this presentation the triple constraint, where we're talking about scope, schedule, and budget. So points 2, 4, and 5. Really, it comes down to being able to manage these constraints, to see where there's flexibility and to see where there's not flexibility, and being able to deliver to those expectations around each of these constraints. This was a video giving you all some challenges that project managers face. Now, as a project manager, I am solution oriented. So I will have links below for videos where I go into detail of how to solve for some of these challenges. Some of them I still have videos in my backlog that I will be completing, and so it will be best for you all to subscribe so you can be updated for when I have those videos posted. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments below. And also, if you want to go in more detail in your specific issues or challenges that you're having as a project manager, also feel free to book me for coaching. I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, if you got something from it, please do give this video a thumbs up, and I will speak with you all in my next one.